Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Joey Francis, your life, love, and relationship coach. Thank you so much for joining me, especially today. See, this one's a little different. Normally, I don't do releases on a Sunday, but see, today is June the 7th, and today happens to be my birthday. So instead of making this episode about me getting older, which nobody really needs, I want to use it as a reason to talk about something birthdays tend to bring up, whether we want them to or not. And that is time. Where we are, where we thought we'd be, what we've learned, what we keep repeating, what we say we know, and what we still sometimes fail to practice when life puts the test right in front of us. Birthdays are funny that way. Of course, there are reasons to celebrate: dinner, cake, messages, people pretending they remembered without Facebook reminding them, all that good stuff. But they can also become these quiet little checkpoints. You wake up, another year has passed, and somewhere in the background of your mind, a question shows up. Am I happy with the way I'm living? And that question can be very uncomfortable because it doesn't only apply to your birthday, it applies to your relationships, your dating life, your friendships, your habits, your health, your work, your happiness, and every situation you keep entertaining, even though part of you already knows the truth. I think birthdays force us to look at time in a different way. When you're younger, time feels endless. You can waste it more easily because it feels like there's so much of it left. But as we get older, time starts to feel more honest. It doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't care about your potential. It doesn't care that something could have been beautiful under different circumstances. It just keeps moving. And the older I get, the more I realize that wasting time isn't always loud. It doesn't always look like years of obvious destruction. Sometimes it looks like entertaining something you already know doesn't fit. Sometimes it looks like giving more energy to a situation than the situation has earned. Sometimes it looks like staying near something because it feels familiar, even though it's not actually available in the way you need it to be. And that's what I want to focus on today specifically. And this is very personal. But I feel that why should I be the only one that learns from my mistakes? I think everybody should learn from my mistakes. That's why I do this. So a situation happened to me recently, and I honestly believe it fits this conversation. And I want to be careful how I talk about it because this isn't about exposing anyone. This isn't about turning someone into a story for content. This is about the lesson inside of it. And honestly, the reminder I had to give myself. See, someone from my past came back into my life. She came back around, and to be clear, she wasn't coming around to date. She was just looking for comfort, familiarity, maybe someone safe to talk to. And because there was history there, because I did care and part of me was curious about what this was, I engaged. Now, did I know better? Of course I did. See, that's the annoying part. I knew she had recently got out of a relationship. She told me when she reached out. I knew she was not in a place to date anyone seriously. I knew getting close to someone who's still emotionally sorting through something can be unbelievably extremely messy. But sometimes knowing something and obeying what you know are two different things. And I think that's where a lot of us get ourselves into trouble. We tell ourselves we're just being curious. We tell ourselves we're just being kind. We're just seeing what the other person wants. Or, if you're a good person, seeing how we can help. And we're just letting things unfold. And sometimes those things can be true. There's obviously kindness there, and there can be care there. There can be genuine curiosity. But if we're honest, there can also be a little bit of hope sitting underneath it. And hope doesn't need to be dramatic to become dangerous. It doesn't have to be some giant fantasy where you're picturing marriage, moving in together, and picking out curtains. Most of the time, it's much smaller than that. Sometimes it's just enough hope to keep you available to something you already know is uncertain and probably not going to happen. But nonetheless, her and I started talking. Again, just friendly conversations. We went out a few times. Nothing crazy, nothing dramatic. But enough time for old feelings to start waking up. That's the thing about history. It doesn't always need much. One familiar laugh, one comfortable conversation, one incredible hug, and bam, your body is flooding with endorphins. I could feel that happening. And at the same time, I knew she wasn't ready. I knew the chances of anything happening or working out were literally slim to none. On top of that, she was coming out of a relationship, and that alone creates an emotional fog. Even when someone's being honest and genuinely enjoys your company, that doesn't automatically mean they're available in a way a relationship requires. There's a difference between someone finding comfort in you and someone being ready to choose you. And again, I don't know how many times I need to say it, not even for you, even for myself. I knew that. I knew it right away. But the hopeless romantic in me stayed in it longer than I probably should have. And that's the part I want to own without making it bigger than it was. I wasn't trying to force anything. I wasn't trying to turn it into something it clearly wasn't. But I did allow myself to stay close to something I knew probably wasn't going to be good for me. And that's where the lesson is. The mistake wasn't necessarily having feelings. I mean, that's not something we can even control. The mistake was negotiating with my own clarity. Because that's what we do sometimes. We know what's true, but we don't like what the truth requires from us. The truth usually asks for discipline. It asks for restraint. It asks you to step back from something that feels good because you already know where it's probably going to go. And nobody likes doing that. Nobody likes walking away from a feeling that just started to feel alive again. But growth often looks like that. It's rarely some dramatic moment where you become this perfectly healed, emotionally invincible person who never feels the pull again. Sometimes growth is much quieter. Sometimes it's just catching yourself in the middle of a pattern and admitting, I know what this is. I know where this can go, and I need to stop pretending I don't know. I had to step back. I had to accept that she needed to do her thing, and me staying close was going to put me in a position that wouldn't feel good for long. I could already see myself standing somewhere uncertain, waiting emotionally, while somebody else figured out where they were. And this is where knowing myself actually helped. Because see, the thing is, I've never really been the type of person to wait around for someone who's not ready to invest in me. If someone's unsure, unavailable, or still figuring out where they are, I can totally understand it. I have compassion for it. I mean, how could you not? Someone is being open and honest with you and self-aware. But the thing is, I'm not going to build my life around it. That's where I got myself into trouble, especially in the beginning. But also, at the same time, while I was able to pull myself out before it became something heavier. And I think that matters. Because another year older doesn't mean you stop making mistakes. I mean, granted, that would be nice, but that's not real life. Another year older means you should hopefully recognize them faster. It means the lesson doesn't need to destroy you before you believe it. It means you don't need to spend 6 months, a year, 5 years proving to yourself what you already knew in the first few weeks. And I think this is where birthdays become useful. A birthday isn't only proof that you got older. It can become a checkpoint where you ask yourself, am I actually learning from my life? Or am I just collecting experiences and calling that wisdom? Because getting older by itself doesn't make you wiser. We all know people who got older and simply became more committed to the same bad habits. They keep dating the same person, maybe in a different body. They keep ignoring the same signs. They keep calling confusion chemistry. They keep staying near people who aren't available and then acting shocked when the situation becomes painful. Age does not automatically give you clarity. Reflection does. Accountability does. The willingness to admit, I know better, and I need to act like I know better. That's what changes things. And I think that's important for me to say because I literally wrote a book about this, the Blueprint Method. It's built around a system. It's built around the idea that you need to know what you need, what you don't need, and how you want to be treated, what your boundaries are, and what you're actually building towards. The whole point of having a blueprint is that emotions can make things cloudy, attraction can make things cloudy, history can most definitely make things cloudy, familiarity can make things very cloudy. And when that happens, you need something to come back to. You need a structure. You need a way to look at the situation and say, what do I actually know here? What's actually being offered? What am I hoping this becomes? Am I seeing this clearly, or am I letting the feelings make the decision for me? And in this situation, that's exactly what I did. But here's the honest part. Just because I wrote the book doesn't mean I'm immune to the test. I can know the rules and still feel the pull. I can teach the system and still have moments where I think, I know what I'd tell someone else here, but let me just see what happens. Let me just see what she wants. Let me see what happens. That's human. And I think pretending otherwise would make the message weaker. I'm not interested in pretending. Pretending that I never make mistakes, never get pulled into old feelings, never have to check myself, never have to follow my own advice. That would be extremely dishonest, and honestly, it would be useless. Because the blueprint isn't for people who never feel anything. It's for the moments when you feel too much. It's for the moments when someone is attractive, familiar, interesting, comforting, or connected to a version of you that remembers what it was like to want them. It's for the moments where logic is still there, but emotion is louder. That's when the system matters most. Anyone can have standards when nobody's testing them. Anyone can talk about boundaries when there's no one standing in front of them making those boundaries inconvenient. The real test is when something feels so good and still doesn't line up with what you know you need. And that was the test for me. And maybe I didn't pass the test. I definitely didn't pass the test. Maybe I gave it more time than I should have. But I did catch it. I did stop. I did step back. And for the record, I don't regret any of it. I do not regret any of it. It felt so good. And maybe that's the lesson. The lesson I'm going to be taking into this birthday. I don't expect myself to become perfect, at least in this situation. That would be ridiculous. I am human. I have feelings. And sometimes those feelings overwhelm me. Sometimes those feelings overwhelm my logic. But I do expect myself to be honest faster. I expect myself to stop romanticizing situations that have already shown me their limits. I expect myself to listen to my own clarity before pain has to come in and make the lesson louder. And I think that's something we can all take into another year of life. Faster honesty. That's the phrase. faster honesty. Because a lot of us already know. We know when something feels off. We know when someone's not ready. We know when a relationship just doesn't fit. We know when we're making excuses. We know when we're hoping the situation becomes something it hasn't shown us that it can become. The problem is, we keep negotiating with that knowledge. We keep asking for more signs when the signs are already there. We keep waiting for the truth to become more comfortable before we accept it. And time keeps moving while we do that. That's what birthdays remind me of. Time keeps moving whether we're honest or not. It keeps moving while we heal. It keeps moving while we avoid healing. It keeps moving while we choose better, and it keeps moving while we repeat the same lesson. It doesn't pause because we're confused. It doesn't slow down because we're hopeful. It doesn't wait for someone else to become ready. So at some point, the question becomes very simple. How much more time do I want to spend negotiating with what I already know? That's a very hard question because the answer isn't always flattering. Sometimes the answer is, I've already spent too much. Sometimes the answer is, I knew earlier than I admitted. Sometimes the answer is, I liked how it felt, so I gave it more room than it deserved. And that's okay, provided we're willing to be honest about it. This is the point of being self-aware. Because honesty is where we get our life back. Perfection isn't the goal. Being honest sooner is the goal. Having the strength to make the right decision is the goal. And maybe that's why this birthday feels like the right time to talk about this. Birthdays can bring up pressure for a lot of people, especially in dating and relationships. Another year passes and people start thinking they should be further ahead. They should be married by now. They should have kids by now. They should have found their person by now. They should have healed by now. They should have it all figured out. And that pressure can make people choose badly. It can make someone stay in the wrong relationship because they don't want to start over. It can make someone entertain the wrong person because being wanted feels better than being alone. It can make someone lower their standards because the calendar is making them panic. But panic isn't a foundation. Fear is not a dating strategy. Time and pressure can make you forget that choosing wrong can cost you more time than waiting for something aligned. That's something I want people to really think about. Starting over can feel scary, especially as we get older. Dating can feel exhausting. Being alone can feel heavy. But staying near something that's not truly available also costs you something. It costs you emotional energy. It costs you focus. It costs you your peace. And if you stay long enough, it can cost you years of your life. That's why another birthday shouldn't only make you ask, am I getting older? It should make you ask, am I spending my time honestly? That question matters more because as getting older is going to happen either way. The real issue is whether you're letting your years teach you anything. Are you making most of the time you have left? Maybe someone listening to this has their own version of what I just described. Maybe someone coming back. Maybe someone is keeping you close without being able to choose you. Maybe someone's not ready, but you're still hoping. Maybe you're the one who's not ready, but you enjoy having somebody there because it makes the empty space feel a lot less empty. And for the record, in my story, she was extremely transparent. It was me that had my head up my ass. Or maybe you're standing inside a situation that feels good in small moments, but doesn't feel right when you look at it honestly. And if that's you, I'm not telling you to panic. Don't go and blow up your life. I'm not telling you to make some dramatic announcement and turn everything into a scene. I'm just telling you to be honest with yourself. Start there. Honesty doesn't always have to be dramatic. It can be quiet. Sitting and admitting to yourself, I know what this is. Sometimes it's stepping back before resentment has a chance to grow. Sometimes it's choosing peace before pain has to force your hand. And sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself and the other person is to stop participating in something that's not actually available. That's clarity. And if there's anything I want to give myself for my birthday, it's more of that. More willingness to follow the things I already know. More courage to step back when something doesn't fit. More honesty with myself when comfort, history, or hope starts making the situation feel more promising than it actually is. Because I know how easy it is to lose time when you keep entertaining what's not aligned. And time matters. The older I get, the more I respect that. I want to move with time consciously. I want to choose better. I want to love better. I want to listen to myself faster. And I hope that you do too. So on my birthday, that's my reminder to you and to myself. You can know the rules and still get tested. You can have clarity and still feel the pull and frankly ignore it. You can be wise and still make mistakes. And I know it's tough because sometimes the mistakes feel so incredibly amazing. But the goal is to stop needing the same lesson to hurt as badly before you finally listen. There's probably other things that I can talk about with the situation that happened to me. Like I said, she did absolutely nothing wrong. It was all on me. It was completely 100% my own doing. She was transparent from the beginning. And I didn't listen to myself. Barely listened to her in that situation because the fact that she needed me, I mean, I'm here for all of you as well, you know? But when somebody that you've had feelings for needs you, it's just, you know, it just feels that extra bit like, oof, that's nice. I'm helping somebody that I care about. And then like a runaway train. Until one day you wake up and you realize, wait a minute. This isn't going the direction that I was hoping it would. And it's not going to. So. And unfortunately, you end up blowing it up. But you have to do what's right for you. That's the other thing too. You have to do what's right for you. And at the end of the day, if somebody truly cares about you as much as you care about them, they would understand. In fact, they should have compassion for you. They should have empathy for you as well to be like, hey, listen, you know what? Maybe I am being selfish and using you and keeping you close for whatever the reason is. And I'm sorry because you have feelings too. Hopefully. And if they don't, well, it gives you an idea of where their mind is. Not necessarily they don't care about you, but maybe they just don't have the capacity to care about anybody else for that time being because they're still sorting through their own shit. So, but I digress. Thank you for spending this little birthday episode with me. I truly appreciate it. And if this hits something in you, take it seriously. Sit with it. Ask yourself what you already know. Ask yourself where your life is. Asking for more honesty. And if you want to reach out, you know where to find me. Go to joeyfrancis.com. That's JOEYFRANCESS.com. And there you can send me a message. You can check out my books. And honestly, if this episode hit you, the Blueprint Method should be the top one that you want to read. It will help you keep you out of situations like this. It won't stop you because, I mean, I wrote the book and here I am. But it will help you stay away from situations like this and choose more clearly. You can also find other places to listen to the podcast or watch the podcast, including my YouTube channel and all of that good stuff. But for today, on my birthday, I leave you this. Another birthday isn't just proof that you got older. It's a chance to ask whether you're finally ready to stop wasting time on what you already know isn't for you. Until next time.